Hello there, my name is Edwin Romero, independent SEO consultant, and today I'd like to share an experience I had a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, I touched base with a student from DePaul University, my alma mater. Her name is Evelyn Barrios, and we chatted about careers, and she did something very interesting. She brought a list of questions as interview style, and essentially prodded me for my upbringing in terms of my career and kind of how I came to be within the SEO space. And I had asked if I can use those set of questions to make a video out of them. She was kind enough to oblige, so thank you, Evelyn. And today I wanted to share those questions for a couple of reasons. One, Evelyn and I are both first-generation Americans. We were among some of the first in our family to go to university. And I think it's important to kind of share those experiences for those that may have similar backgrounds. Secondly, a lot of folks always inquire around how I got to be into SEO. And based on my network, it seems to be a very common pattern where it's diverse backgrounds going into this one's niche in digital marketing, which is SEO. And I wanted to share how diverse career paths and dynamics can be based on intent. I do hope you enjoy this set of interview questions, and I hope it serves as a guide, not just on how to get started in SEO, but also what you may want to consider when building out your career going forward. Let's begin. Number one, what prompted you to transition from working for other companies in SEO to starting your own consulting business? The goal of moving towards entrepreneurship was born out of necessity as well as pretty good timing. My parents started a family business about 30 years ago, centered around importing goods from Ecuador and Peru. During the summer of 2021, I wanted to find a way to help support the family business, but also continue earning a sufficient level of income. I've heard people who made the jump to independent consulting were able to command a higher hourly rate and experience lucrative salaries. I found in my SEO consulting practice to help with my life circumstances, but also my standard of living. That said, it was by design. That's not to say that it was easy. There were a lot of things I had to consider, not just about how much SEO did I know, but things like how do I differentiate myself from the market? SEOers nowadays, there's a lot of us, and clients and brands have their pick. So strategically, I had to think about how I can differentiate myself. And that's where my specializations, both website migrations as well as Salesforce Commerce Cloud, came into play. I built myself a pretty nice little network I can lean on, and felt that I can lean on my network contracting with other agencies as I build on my client portfolio. But that's a totally different other story. 2. Can you tell me more about your journey from being an intern to founding your own digital marketing consulting company? What were the key milestones and challenges you encountered along the way? For those that may not know, I started my SEO career interning at various agencies. They were really small. Some were boutique, and it went from being a generalist intern to specifically an SEO intern. I ended up landing a job at Cavario, which was a search agency at the time. It had been acquired and it currently is now iProspect. From there, I moved on to Digitas for a year and then ended up at Lions CG, or Lions Consulting Group, which is an e-commerce consulting company. Lions was acquired by Capgemini several years ago, and it was at Cap that I decided to start my own consulting practice. As far as milestones that have defined me as an SEOer, the most impactful are typically tied to challenges. That's how growth happens. From early on, even up until recently, it's important to come to terms that I, as an SEOer, don't know all the answers within the search space. This is probably best represented by the relationship I had with one of my earlier managers. We butted heads a lot, as I wanted to take on more work, but in all honesty, I wasn't ready as an SEO, as a consultant, as a marketer. SEO was still so new to me and I had so much to learn. The best way she taught me was to drop me in the deep end. She had me take responsibility for my research, push the boundaries on quality deliverables, and had me lead client calls. It was frightening, but I have to say that this relationship and dynamic is probably one of the experiences that I value most in my career, as it molded me into a better consultant and an SEOer. Question number 3. Any aha moments that made things click or either made you pivot or accelerate your career? The moment I knew I had a knack for one of my specializations, website migrations, was when I was pulled into a meeting with VPs and executives. At that point, the teams were discussing declining organic performance after a website migration and needed to consult an expert. My director pulled me into the convo, and I was a resource to help diagnose the issues, which was tied to IP redirects, which forced Googlebot to redirect to a different location, something that isn't ideal for SEO. We chatted for about an hour, and after I stepped out, I was pretty shook. I've always considered myself always in training, and to have VPs and executives ask for my input and a path forward, it was pretty humbling. That's when it hit me. I know what I'm talking about. And no, I may not have all the answers, but I'm quite confident in my experience. What this also made me realize is that there are certain dynamics that occur within enterprise level teams that fewer folks were talking about online. And with that, I began to write content on my website as well as speak to these topics on LinkedIn on a more regular basis. And it's one of those traits that I have as a consultant that do appeal to certain types of clients. Number 4. How did you know you wanted to focus on website migrations and SEO aspects of marketing? How did you become well-versed in the area? Well, first and foremost, I somewhat fell into website migrations as a niche within SEO. It came about during my time at Lion CG, where in the first week, my manager told me that I had to help launch a website. Specifically, I had to help them launch on an e-commerce platform called Salesforce Commerce Cloud, which happens to be my other specialization. I began migrating one site after another, and it gave me the opportunity to refine my process over time. And it honestly culminated in my specialization. It gave me insight on what worked, what didn't, how to communicate more effectively, how to build the process more efficiently, and pivot depending on the circumstances of the brand. As far as SEO as a whole, it was similar in that I didn't intend to go into SEO. It sort of just happened. When I graduated from DePaul, I was a finance major. I wanted to be involved with the stock market. It didn't happen. But because I also have a creative background, I wanted to do something in marketing. And that's when I discovered SEO as a career path. Additionally, it honestly all goes back to my family business. Early on, over a decade ago, they needed a site makeover, so I took it upon myself to recreate their website. This was before I understood that there were these things called content management systems, or CMSs, such as WordPress or Wix. So I decided to learn HTML and CSS as I built out their website. Every element I researched in an attempt to understand if it impacted organic performance. With that, I was better able to understand what's SEO best practice. Then it led to a career. Question number 5. How do you stay updated with SEO trends and changes in SEO best practices? I primarily keep up with best practices through news on LinkedIn, as well as various newsletters that I follow. On LinkedIn, I follow a number of industry experts, including Nick Leroy, Chris Long, Lily Ray, Aleida Solis, and Glenn Gabe. Now, that is not an exhaustive list. There are a ton of amazing people that are active and speaking about SEO on LinkedIn. What's really nifty is when you begin to look at one expert and who they comment with and who they communicate with through the comment section, it gives you an opportunity to network with those individuals as well, opening the door for you to reach out and understand what they share in terms of SEO, in terms of career advice, and the like. As far as industry newsletters, these that I'm about to list off are the ones that report on news on a regular basis. Aleida Solis' SEO FOMO, Nick Leroy's SEO for Lunch, Marie Haynes' newsletter, Kevin Indig's Growth Memo, Search Engine Roundtable, and Search Engine Land. Again, not an exhaustive list, but these do provide really great updates on the industry and keep you in the loop with what's happening within search. Question number 6. What does a day look like for you? Stretched across 2 careers, my day often varies, but I attempt to keep it as structured as I can. So I spend half of the day at the family business and the other half of the day at my consulting practice. Regarding the family business, I help tackle areas that continue to grow or sustain the business across its 2 business lines. Because the business is divided between retail and wholesale, there are unique needs for each. And often I find myself trying to build and test processes, communicate with varying team members, and perform tasks that keep both sides of the business going. When I'm dedicating time to my SEO practice, I'm typically engaged in client work. I've found, based on my dynamic, I can only take on one ongoing retainer client and one side SEO project. Any more than that, I'm pretty much stretched thin. When I have downtime, I begin to look at industry news, I engage on LinkedIn, or I work towards growing my brand as an SEOer. And that includes creating videos like these, uploading them, outlining or writing blog posts or newsletters. What happens after work is just as significant given kind of how I set things up for myself in terms of my careers. After work, it's family time. no exceptions. I spend the time with my toddler and my wife. We're either cooking, eating, playing, going for walks, essentially good, wholesome, quality time. As the day wraps up, I do a few stretches to kind of target those tense areas more than likely brought upon by the day. I wrap all of this up by doing some bedside reading. I prefer fiction, but I also do nonfiction as well. Things around self-help, career, and ultimately business books. Then layered on top of all that, I also write my journal. Really quick blurbs about what I'm grateful for and ultimately what the next day might bring. Based on how I've divided up my time, it can be heavy mentally and emotionally. Because I'm a father and because I'm a husband, I want to make sure mentally and emotionally I'm as healthy as can be. So my nighttime routine really does help me keep myself in check. It helps me brush off the day and it reminds me why I'm doing all of it. Keeps me grounded. So there you have it. 6 great questions by Evelyn Barrios. I hope for those who are watching, this video has helped you as you define what your career looks like, or you're looking to adjust your careers. If you do have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Thank you for your time, and until the next one.